to Here We Are, a podcast with Dallas Holm. Dallas, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Allergy season.
Yeah,
Got
Texas.
my nose itching. Yeah, it's that time
Spring
of year.
and fall.
Yep.
It's like clockwork.
Yes.
Whether it's raining or sunny, it's just
Yep.
always something. And it's raining today, really
It
hard.
is raining really hard. They were saying it's mostly the molds because people, East Texas in general, I've heard this for years. People that have never had problem with allergies move to East Texas
Oh,
and
yeah.
they got allergies.
Yeah.
I've had allergies all my life, usually seasonal, spring and fall. Different things down here, but yeah, the fall always hits me. Though this is a little late for me, but they were saying because of the way the weather's been between the real dry and now the wet, that the molds
Yeah.
for some reason are kicking up. So that's probably what it is. So
Out
I'll
of
try not
control.
to sneeze during this. but-
Yes, don't worry, you won't catch anything.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about Peaceful Harbor. Last time we did I Saw the Lord, so this is the album that it came from.
Yep.
But Peaceful Harbor is a much requested song. So I've gotten, since we've started these podcasts, I've gotten several emails from people saying, can you please do Peaceful Harbor?
That's
So
interesting.
it's apparently a loved song, which I love it, but
Yeah,
love
kind
to
of an
hear.
islandy sort of feel. Little bit of a Jimmy Buffett groove,
Mm-hmm.
probably not as country as that. Actually, there's a song, probably in the 60s, maybe 70s. It was a secular song called Ride, Captain, Ride. 73 men sailed out of the San Francisco Bay. Had a guitar solo in it. That's one of my all-time favorite guitar solos. I think the group's name was Blues Image, if I remember right. But this song reminds me, I remember when we were doing it in the studio, and when we decided to let's put an electric guitar fill in here, and it was like, oh, that's like Ride, Captain Ride. So it's been one of my favorite songs. I love the feel of it.
Yeah,
This was actually my dad's favorite song, which was kind of interesting. Of all the songs I wrote and sang, he just loved Peaceful Harbor, and I don't know exactly why, except I know he just liked the feel of it. He also liked the guitar solo. Interestingly enough, my father died in the year 2000, so it's been 20 years ago now, and he got prostate cancer that got out and spread, and he really did pretty well. I think he lived for like almost 15 years after they diagnosed it. The last year in particular was starting to really take him down, and then the last few weeks it was pretty much just in bed and couldn't do anything. So my mom called one night and said that I think this is the night I think your dad's passing. So I brought my guitar over. Linda and I went over. We sat on the bed and we sang Peaceful Harbor. And I wasn't sure if he could hear it, though I think he probably did. And then we transitioned from Peaceful Harbor into an old chorus, Peace, peace, wonderful peace, coming down from the Father above. Sweep over my spirit forever I pray in fathomless billows of love. When I strummed the last chord, he took his last breath.
Wow.
That was it. So,
That's awesome. Well, he was a wonderful man. Godly man. Quiet. Which was always so funny because my grandmother, your mom, was not quiet. If any of you knew her, and she worked here. She answered a lot of Dad's letters for many years.
Yeah, worked for a
But
ministry for
she
22
had
years.
words to spare, and
Oh, yeah.
Grandpa was just an anchor.
Yeah.
He was solid.
Mom was, her office was pretty close to mine. And and I loved my mom. Wonderful woman, but she had opinions about how things should be done. She was very, very organized. Everything needed to fit, a certain plan. And a lot of times I would avoid walking past her office because I knew if I walked past, there was going to be, Dallas, And if I had $1 for every time she said, no, I'm not trying to tell you how to run your business. And then you knew it was going to be, but you should.
But I've got a really great suggestion for you.
Oh, man. She had a thing called the wire file. It was just a wire basket, a file, kind of a random. Everything for her was in a file, and the category was all, alphabetical and numerical and whatever, cataloged. So she had this thing. We would go through correspondence, we'd go through counseling letters, we'd go through invitations, whatever it was. And then whatever we were going through, okay, now we need to go through the wire file. Well, the wire file was just random, kind of in between.
Didn't know which
didn't
file
really
they
fit
belonged
in
in.
anything. What do you want to do about this? Okay, what do you want to do about this? It's usually probably a dozen things. What I remember is at the bottom of the wire file for years, there was an athletic company. It was actually the company you worked for a while,
Bollinger
Industries, and they had either made or were distributing one of these kind of
the
things
airflow strips.
Airflow strips you put on your nose, and they had gotten an endorsement from Michael Irvin, who was the wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys.
It was Grandma's
this
favorite.
picture was Michael Irvin with this Band-Aid looking thing on his nose, and my mom just loved Michael Irvin, and she would pray for him. She would. I mean, we'd get to the bottom of the wire file, and she said, "Oh, there's Michael. I just love him, and I'm going to pray for him." And she wouldn't always do it when I was there, but it was like, I pray for him all the time. So, it was a wonderful thing when we heard some years later that I actually did a TV program with Deion Sanders after he became a Christian, and Michael's name, and of course anybody knows Michael Irvin, he didn't have the best reputation, got in a lot of trouble by his own admission, but there did come a time when I remember when he said, "I've gotten my life straightened out and I've given my life to Jesus." And I thought, oh, my mom would love to hear that. So, so yeah, memories of my mom. Now my dad, as Jennifer said, was so much the other side of that. Mom was the life of the party. Dad was just content to sit quietly, to be off by himself. Yeah. He could talk about anything. He was he only had an 8th grade education, as they say.
Very smart.
But very smart, very wise, extremely well read. We used to always say, I don't think there was, you could put him in a room of, say, doctors, put him in a room of scientists, put him in a room of teachers, and he would have something that he could contribute. Yeah. I mean, he was that well read that he knew something about, and he was an amazing man. So the fact that he liked Peaceful Harbor, and I think one of our other podcasts we actually showed a picture of my dad standing with the guitar, and I didn't realize it till years later. I always just saw that picture. Thought, that's a cool picture of Dad with a guitar. In one day, not too many years ago, it just struck me with such force. That's what Dad wanted to do. Yeah. Dad wanted to be a singer. Dad listened to, who's the guy's name? You're Cheating Hard. Famous old country singer, Hank Williams. Loved Hank Williams, knew all of Hank Williams' songs. Well, that was the big deal back when my dad was a boy. He listened to the radio. I remember he used to talk about listening to Grand Ole Opry. Didn't have television. You'd listen to these singers. So started to realize that more and more later on. My dad was musical. He played the guitar a little bit. So for whatever reason, he loved Peaceful Harbor. That was probably his.
So do you remember anything about writing this song?
Honestly, I don't. It's funny because, when you write a song, there's always an experience. There's always some place that you wrote it. And a lot of my songs, I would say most of my songs, I can remember what inspired that or what event or what scripture or what comment I heard or something. Peaceful Harbor, I don't have a clue where it came from. Okay. I do know that I was particularly kind of pleased when I wrote because, as you know, I love the outdoors. I love nature. I've literally spent, I've tried to figure out one time, I tried to average hunting trips, fishing trips, hiking, outdoor adventures. I've literally spent several years of my life outdoors, on the water. So I like this because the imagery is out on the water. To me, I see the fishing boat out on the water. I did have an experience years ago. It's kind of funny. We were down in, I think it was the Daytona Beach area of Florida, which would be the Atlantic side. And we're down there doing a concert, and someone had lined up for us because we'd gotten there a day early, to go fishing. So these two guys took us out on their boat. Well, there were actually small craft warnings. We shouldn't have been out there because we weren't in big boats. We were in maybe 28-foot just fishing boats. When we were a mile off the shore, the waves were so big that when we would go between the waves, you couldn't see the skyline of the high rise. I was okay for some reason. I mean, I can get sick on certain kinds of rides, but I guess I was so involved in fishing, I didn't care. But when we went out that morning, we went in this harbor. It's behind a breakwater, just calm as glass. And because there were, I think at that time, there were 6 of us that were traveling. One of them was our road manager. So the one brother took 2 or 3 guys out on his boat first. They went out through the Peaceful Harbor, through the breakwater, out into the Atlantic. We had gotten a little slowed down for something, I don't remember what. Maybe had to get our licenses or something. So we're several minutes behind them. So now here we come through the Peaceful Harbor, getting ready to go behind the breakwater and out into the Atlantic. And here comes the first boat back. And the road manager, whose name I will not say, he literally was, just his head was over the side of the boat. And from 100 feet away, he was green. He was just literally, and he hadn't even gotten out in the big waves yet. He just started to feel a little bit of this, and he was.
That would be me.
Of course, we just were merciless. Did you have a good time? Did you catch any fish? We knew he hadn't even been out there. He was just deathly sick.
Oh,
so we went out of the peaceful harbor and fished. We actually caught, I remember we caught tuna, barracuda. I caught a mako shark and some other stuff that I don't know what it was, but it really got pretty strange. I mean, we shouldn't have been out there. It was rough. Oof. So we finally came back in, and thank the Lord I didn't get sick. But I remember when we came through that breakwater and got back into that harbor, which again was just like glass. It's like, oh man, it's just nice. Yeah. So it really was kind of I remember we referenced Peaceful Harbor. Yeah. This is what a peaceful harbor is.
After you wrote it.
Yeah.
Well, this song means something different to me now. I mean, as a kid, I loved it because of the kind of calypso feel and just the fun sound. But now as a mom, I remember years ago, my oldest two are 18 and 17. And I homeschooled them the first several years of their lives, and kind of caught some flack for it. And every spring we pray about where our kids are going to go to school next year. Because we have two younger ones now. But at that point, I really remember feeling like we build our kids in a harbor. We're not building them out on the rough seas. You don't build a ship. I should say a ship, not our kids. But you don't build a ship out on the rough seas. You build a ship in the harbor, and where the water's peaceful. And it just really spoke to Jason and me about building our kids up, making sure their foundation is strong in the peaceful waters, and let them get their feet underneath them and firm grounding before we send them out. But then again, you don't build them to stay in the harbor. A ship isn't built to sit in the harbor their whole life and to look great and wow, what a beautiful ship. No, it's to go out and be on the seas. So it has kind of, now I look at this in a whole new way as a mom.
Yeah, that's good.
It just means something different.
I remember when we came back into the harbor after getting rocked about all day, oftentimes we mention or point out a little object we have. Today I've got a little old insulator, which a lot of you older folks remember the insulators on the electrical lines, phone lines. They actually had these very similar to this with lights in them, I guess, at the harbor. And I can remember when we were coming back in, because it got pretty dark, the weather was pretty bad. I remember when we could see those lights, it's like, okay, we're going to hit calm water pretty soon. So that was a nice memory. This actually, I don't know, you'll probably remember, Jennifer. I think you were with us. We were on,
I remember pulling off on the side of a highway and picking up brown paper bags full of these things. I think Wyoming or something.
Yeah, it was actually in West Texas. We were on our way up to Colorado to the Estes Park Christian Artist Retreat. We had a little motorhome, one of those van sort of things, and it was half vacation, half going to sing, and I'm going to do some workshops and stuff. And we're up in the panhandle of Texas, and they were taking down all the lines along the railroad. And at first, we kept seeing these phone poles over on the side with all these insulators, and half of them were broken because when they knocked them over, they would break. Well, as a kid, I would see these. I grew up next to railroad tracks, and I remember shooting at these with my BB gun. Of course, they're so thick, the BBs wouldn't even make a mark on them. But I remember as a kid thinking, I wish I could have one of those. I wish I could get one of those. We used to try to crawl up the pole, and of course, we didn't know this probably get fried or something. But so here, all of a sudden, there's hundreds of them. And I thought, is that stealing? I mean, should we go? But they were just laying there. They were all, half of them were broken, and we decided, well, let's go get some. So we were just going to grab a few, and then, there's a bunch more right there.
In different colors.
Different colors. Yeah, there were white ones, green ones, some kind of real light blue ones.
Yeah.
I think we walked away with about 3 bags full of them, which I still
Which probably we've never done anything with them, but they look
some
cool.
of them have dates, some of the older ones. I mean, some were made back in the 20s, and
yeah, they're really cool.
So it was fun, and I don't know what you do with them, but I got a bunch of them now, and I haven't shot them.
You should sell them on your website.
Yeah, exactly.
Mementos.
Yeah. Maybe put some kind of, no, I shouldn't say that. I watch some of these shows, some of these so-called Christian shows where they're selling something.
Oh, yeah. No,
miracle oil or water from the Holy Land or whatever. We could put something in there, but I think it stands on its own.
I think so. Well, thanks for joining us. We will be back with more songs, more episodes in the future. Bye-bye.
Bye.